We are Southeastern 16. Chase Robinson, Jay Greeson there as we continue our season previews for all 16 SEC football teams. We have landed on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Jay, it's an interesting one here. I think this is a good Alabama team. Year two under Kalen DeBoer. We've seen what he's done in year two at previous schools. It's pretty good stuff. I'm really intrigued. There's definitely some storylines to this Alabama team, but I think this could be a good year for the Crimson Tide and get back to kind of what the fans are used to and want to see in Tuscaloosa.
I think among the litany of compliments we can pay Lord Saban is the unbelievable level to which he raised Alabama's expectations. Last year was totally unacceptable. They lost 4 games in a very tough league and didn't make the playoffs. And some could argue that they may have been right there among the playoff teams. But that's the reality of Alabama now. I mean, when you lose 4 games in half a decade, 4 games in a calendar year feels like a failure. And hey, kudos to Kalen DeBoer for stepping into the biggest vacuum left since Bear Bryant walked away from Tuscaloosa. And, we've been kicking around a lot of different things on Southeastern 16 and various shows and platforms. And I have said on multiple occasions that I think Jackson Arnold has, because the fate of Hugh Freeze's job and the status of the Auburn program, Jackson Arnold may have more pressure on him than any player in the league. His counterpart at his arch rival, Ty Simpson, may have the biggest swing meter of any player in this league. If Ty Simpson's not good, he's not going to be long for that position. But he's not going to be long for QB1 anyway, not in Tuscaloosa, not with the pieces around him. But if he's mediocre to good, I think this is a playoff roster. And Chase, I think you have to start with a defense that could have 6, 7 future NFL guys. I don't know where your go-to is as you're doing research online. I use a lot of Pro Football Focus because I like the way they crunch numbers. Alabama is one of 4 teams in the country that has a top 10 ranking at the defensive line, at linebacker, and in the secondary. And they're the only team in the country with a top 10 player at each tier national.
Wow. Yeah. And I think we'll see that on the field. Let's start offensively, though, because, again, that's where a lot of people are talking about with Alabama. Of course, Jalen Milroe, now with Seattle Seahawks. We saw some really great flashes from last year. We saw some questionable moments. We know the guys around him last year. So now Ty Simpson steps in, and he's kind of been waiting his turn. He's been sitting back there and taking reps in practice and not getting much time in games. But now's his time where he can win this job. Offensively, yes, a lot of people are talking about the quarterbacks. This wide receiver room, though, Jay, is good and it's deep.
And star-studded. And I mean, the only reason people aren't speaking about Ryan Williams more is because the only flaw in Ryan Williams' game is that he's not as good as Jeremiah Smith, who's in the same grade as he is. And Jeremiah Smith, I contend, is probably the best college wide receiver we've seen since Larry Fitzgerald. So, but Ryan Williams, I think he exploded on the scene, caught a lot of people by surprise. He had a much better first half of the year than the last half of the year. And some people, in my mind, wrongly claimed that he had hit a wall or dipped. It's not a surprise to many. If you looked into the numbers, the back half of the year, Jalen Milroe was struggling with some accuracy issues. So Ryan Williams was still getting open. He was still getting behind the defense. He was still making plays when he could get his hands on the ball, but they were having a tougher time getting the ball in his hands. So you add in Isaiah Horton, the portal addition from Miami. You add in, let's be real clear. Yes, Kalen DeBoer stepped into shadows parallel to what is cast into the by the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building in Saban. But it ain't like Saban left him a bunch of bums.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. And, you look at some of these guys, Germie Bernard made some big-time catches last year, and I think from all indication he's taken a step up. You mentioned Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton. Jalen Mbakwe is a guy I think to watch. He's a sophomore. I covered him in high school and watched him several times. The dude is an athlete, and he's one of those, if you watch high school football, when you see a guy like that's going to play college and beyond, like he stands out big time, and that's what Jalen Mbakwe did. And so I expect him to maybe break out this season for Alabama. You look, Jay, at the running backs, and you got Jam Miller, senior, and then you look at some of these other guys, redshirt sophomore Richard Young. You got Daniel Hill, Dre Washington. How important to you is running backs this year, and how important will Jam Miller be?
Well, I think you start there with Jam Miller, and I think you also remember DeBoer brought the OC from Washington, and they had a ton of success. Remember, a lot of it, it starts with Ty Simpson, and I think the running back, when Washington was at their best under DeBoer and this offensive plan, it was 3 and 4 wide. It was Michael Penix Jr. Making plays, both short and intermediate throws, and creating matchups in space. But if you've got a guy like Miller, who, it's one of those basic football equations that, what are you going to stop? Are you going to put a safety on the 3rd or 4th wide receiver, or are you going to have him come up in run support? And then you, as Spur used to always say, and I love this phrase, I'm going to find your scab and then I'm going to pick at it till you bleed to death. So if you can create mismatches like that, because against 6 and 7 guys near the line of scrimmage, Jam Miller could be the SEC's leading rusher.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. That to me is in a very important position this year for Alabama.
And Chase, yeah. I'm sorry. We got to remember now, both Ty Simpson and Jam Miller are going to benefit by a whole lot of Sunday players in front of them wearing those numbers from 50 to 79.
Yes, and that's where I wanted to go next, to the offensive line. Caden Proctor. He was at SEC Media Days. And just kind of going back and listening to some of what he had to say, talking about kind of last year, his struggles, how he's looking to grow. I think he is going to be a big part of this offensive line. Parker Brailsford back. You got Jaden Roberts, Cam Dewberry transferring in. I like what they've done with the offensive line.
I don't know how you couldn't, Chase. Just last week at the College Football Hall of Fame, they completed SEC Media Days, and you mentioned Caden Proctor, who is going to be on the short list for the first tackles off the board next spring. But of the 10 guys named offensive line, first or second team all league by the media at SEC Media Days, Alabama has 4.
Yeah.
You mentioned Roberts, you mentioned Carmona. We already talked about Proctor and Parker Brailsford, the center. Not only is he a technician, he's got a nasty streak. And I mean that in the most complimentary way possible, Mr. and Mrs. Brailsford. So appreciate you watching us here on Southeastern 16. I mean that in the most complimentary way possible about your fine young man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing, and I think, and you bring up a good point, like, yes, Ty Simpson does not have a ton of experience as QB1, but you look at who he's got around him, skill guys. But yeah, you look at who's right ahead of him. And I think these guys can do a good job of protecting him, giving him time, and letting him work. And I think that's whoever's in at quarterback, whether it's Austin Mack or Keelan Russell or Ty Simpson, whoever is in there, they're protected well.
Well, and see, that's something too because of the aspirations, because of the high hopes, and as we mentioned from the start, the expectations in Tuscaloosa, I wonder how long of a leash Ty Simpson will get, especially when you consider if they're even, Keelan Russell brings the running dimension through the roof. I mean, that kid's electric with his feet. And I mean, I just don't, I hope, I've known Ty Simpson a long time, since he was little, actually, because his dad used to coach at UTC here in Chattanooga. And I hope he reaches his 5-star potential. And I know Alabama fans hope that too. But this roster, a roster that I think 2 through 22 and 2 through 32 is the best in the league, truly. We just don't know at that QB1 spot what it's going to be. And we won't know until they flip the lights on.
Yeah, that's very true. So that's the offensive side. Let's talk a little defense, because I think this is also a lot of interesting talking points on the defense for Alabama too. A guy, media days last week, like we mentioned, Deontay Lawson was there. Tough injury last year for him, going out. He's going to be a very important part of this defense. LT Overton. There is a number of guys on this defense, like you alluded to earlier, very good players, but that can make a big impact for Alabama defensively this year for Kane Womack and staff.
Well, the other simple math equation in football that our smart viewers here at Southeastern 16 are going to embrace. Sometimes, look, the cliches are cliches because of a reason. It's because they're true. They're universally true. Staying ahead of the chains. It's a blocking and tackling league. Well, when you've got 4 defensive linemen like Alabama does, led with Overton, led with Tim Keenan, and you can consistently pressure the quarterback without sending other dudes, you are ahead of the curve in whatever scheme you want to run. So Alabama has that, and they've got the hallmark of what Nick Saban defenses have always been. They're filled with playmakers, and they're filled with playmakers who can really run. And, I mean, I don't even know if you mentioned him or not, but Damani Jackson's going to have a 10-year NFL career if he doesn't get hurt.
Good point. Yeah, he's going to be really good. There's a lot of depth too. Just as I was looking through like the roster, the depth chart, getting ready to do this, like there's just tons of depth and quality depth. You know, I feel like we're in the day and age in college football where you can't just stack up 5 stars anymore because they're going to transfer and play somewhere else. But there's just a ton of really good depth defensively for Alabama.
That's a great point, Chase. And it allows you to come in waves. It allows you to be better in the second half than your opponents are. And it allows you a great recruiting pitch of, look, you don't have to be a starter here to be a star. And so, I mean, I think, honestly, they were picked 3rd in the league behind 2 of the 3 consensus national championship favorites in Texas and Georgia. And I don't know if Ty Simpson is good, 3rd is low for what Alabama fans should expect.
Yeah, I agree. And that's where I kind of wanted to go, because you look at kind of the season as a whole. I know several people. I don't know if I want to pick them as the SEC champion, but I know several people who are, and I certainly think they can get towards that. Yeah, if Ty Simpson has a good season, do you feel like when you look at this roster as a whole, like, are we talking about like a championship roster to you? Like this is a team that could go win it all?
Yes, talent-wise, absolutely. Now, I think one of the things, and if I had been at SEC Media Days and I had voted on order of finish, nobody can predict what's going to happen that first Saturday in December in Atlanta. But I do believe that Texas has the easiest schedule in the league.
Yeah.
Alabama's conference schedule is middle of the pack and maybe even a little more difficult than that when you've got to go to Athens. you still play Tennessee, you've got LSU, and you've got Oklahoma, and you end the year in the crazy train that is the Iron Bowl in Jordan-Hare. So the league schedule is a little challenging, and you're going to play 5 SEC games in a row, and in late October, the 5th of those 5 is a trip to Columbia, South Carolina to see who may be QB1 in next spring's NFL draft.
Yeah, no, I agree that the schedule is tough. I'm really interested though in seeing Alabama, what they can put out there, what happens with the Crimson Tide. I think it should be fascinating. Kalen DeBoer, year 2. I mentioned this too, Jay. I mean, you look back to what he did at Washington from year 1 to year 2. He got him to the college football playoff, played for a national championship. Ryan Grubb back with him. He's got the band back together. It kind of seems like it's fitting for Alabama to take that next step with Kalen DeBoer as well. So we'll keep you covered on all things Alabama as we get you ready for the 2025 season. Got to tell you about our friends, though, at Game Time Sidekicks.
Well, and I'm so sorry. I just put my Auburn Cup in front on the Alabama preview. That email is J, the letter J, Greeson at timesfreepress.com, and I offer my humble apologies. And no, this is not a Mississippi State shirt. This is a Signal Mountain High School shirt where my kids go to school.
There you go.
But, hey, I go to softball tournaments every weekend with my daughter, and everybody asks me about my Game Time Sidekick Cup. And I'll go you one step further. You want to win the tailgate? Bingo.
That's it. GameTimeSidekicks.com. That's where you go for your officially licensed stainless steel drinkware. All the SEC schools, whatever school you cheer for, go to GameTimeSidekicks.com. Get your cup. Top of the market quality. Great ice retention. Got the double wall vacuum insulated stainless steel. All logo printing and product decoration done in Knoxville, Tennessee. So right here in SEC country. Ton of designs and logos offered for each school. And even offer a college vault line. Very few brands do that. They do everything from stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce plus bottles, and shaker cups right there at GameTimeSidekicks.com. And you get a promo code SE16 for a 20% discount to you, the great viewers. Promo code SE16, 20% off there, GameTimeSidekicks.com. Also, I want to tell you about our friends at ROKFORM. Appreciate them for partnering with us as well. That's where you need to go for your accessories, the world's strongest magnetic phone case. So get something strong. They've got great accessories on there. They got golf accessories on there, other cases. You can put them on your car, your motorcycle, whatever it is, speakers as well. The world's strongest magnetic phone case there, ROKFORM, ROKFORM.com. We appreciate them partnering with us as well. More SEC football previews and coverage on the way here on Southeastern 16. Subscribe if you have not already. Drop a comment, Alabama fans, on how you think this season could go for your Crimson Tide. And we'll be back with more here on Southeastern 16.